Okay, stick with me here. What if Trent stayed? It feels like a weird thing to say for me, and I feel like a lot of people would have to cycle some things back. I can't remember what negative things I might have said about him at any one time when I was particularly upset, slash just, making videos. But a lot of people are resigned to the fact that Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to leave. And then suddenly, Mo Salah posts a selfie with him. That is the most confusing part, because let's be honest, why would you post a selfie to tease something if there was nothing to it? Why would you tease Liverpool fans? The fans that you say you love, you care about. Why, just hang that out there in order to take it back or in order to disappoint. Of course, the other day when I made the Trent Alexander-Arnold video, or we made the video after the Leicester win, which included the Trent Alexander-Arnold goal, everyone was still pretty angry with Trent. They were angry I think in a very justified way about the fact that Trent hasn't committed to the club publicly or privately. And for some strange reason, has never really, even if you are negotiating, put it this way, can you still say you love the fans? Can you still say you love the club? You can still say all that stuff. It doesn't even seem like he's very publicly, emotionally committed to anything. And maybe, again, that's one big tactic. As a lot of the comments pointed out the other day, you can't give even an inch, because then people end up taking the mile. And especially in contract negotiations, and I know that Liverpool will be it's not even penny pinching. It's just literally economical with the way they do things. And Trent will have been made what, if we're being generous, is termed an economical offer. Now, why would he have been made that economical offer? Well, first of all, Liverpool will know that right back in a team like Arne Slot's is particularly important, but it isn't the only creative role. And they will also know that tactically, there is a lot of sacrifice made for Trent Alexander-Arnold, not least the other day when we were talking about Dominic Szoboszlai, right? Dominic Szoboszlai does that interview and he talks about, a lot of people being disappointed with his offensive output. There's that hot zone for Slot right in front of the penalty area. He loves that area to try and create goals, balls around. There's all sorts of different ways that you can create a goal from that area, right? That has become the key area in modern football. Trent is very good there, Szoboszlai is very good there, Salah is excellent there, Diaz is very good at dropping deep. There's so many different combinations you can do there. And Trent kind of exists just before that, outside of it, and sometimes roams into it. But what that does is it means that other people have to be more conscious of the spaces, the gaps, and the places around Trent, either offensively or defensively, right? That seems pretty evident to me if you watch Liverpool week in, week out. But he said, I have to be conscious of that right-hand side. And that is possibly taking away from my offensive output. And fair enough, right? I think a lot of people know Trent requires some cover. He requires some combos. There's all sorts of things you want to do to bring the best out of Trent. And we saw that under Klopp. Klopp, I think it was slightly easier because Klopp was very enabling of those fullbacks and very much wanted to play into that idea. And, the transition was so key because Trent could really feed. There are so many different reasons why Trent tactically works for Liverpool. But what is it that's coming next for Arne Slot? What is it that's going to keep us ahead of the curve? Because a huge reason for Liverpool's winning this season was being ahead of the curve. And Trent, broadly, has kept Liverpool ahead of that curve. Sometimes he's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Sometimes he's the perfect amalgamation of the football that is now and the football that is the future. And sometimes we were caught out because Trent wasn't quite in the right position, or the sacrifices we made for Trent were too committed. And that's not his fault. That's a tactical decision that Arne Slot has made with the resources that he has. We don't make those same tactical sacrifices, should we say, and I think the sacrifice may be a bit of a hyperbolic word, in order to get Bradley into the game, should we say. Bradley still makes his runs forward. If anything, they're committed in a different way, and you still have to have the committed midfielders. But Trent, in particular, it feels like you're making pretty big choices in having Trent in the side. And Real Madrid, broadly, could afford to make those choices. It may also be, by the way, that Trent still hasn't really 100% made his mind up. I get the feeling that if he had signed something with Real Madrid, there's a probability that we would know about it. There's a very high probability we'd know about it. But at the same time, if he was playing both sides, if there was this idea that, hey, we can explore all these conspiracy theories right now, right? If Trent was playing both sides and he was trying to get the best contract out of Liverpool, he was trying to lead Real Madrid on, and he was trying to almost Jude Bellingham his way into a situation. What I mean by that is, tell every side everything's Gucci, or tell every side everything is difficult. You need to do something here in order to get the best possible offer. That's what Jude Bellingham did in order to get the best possible offer out of Real Madrid. Let's not make any bones about it. Jude played Liverpool, he played Man City, he played Real Madrid. All big footballing institutions that all thought they were going to get him at one point or another. Liverpool wouldn't bid if they wouldn't have thought they were going to get him, etc., etc. And he came out on top with that. Sure, it annoyed some people along the way, but when are you going to need Liverpool again? When are you going to need Man City again? You're not. You're conveniently perched at the best club in the world. And if Trent wants to do the same, Trent could do that. But again, I think a lot of people have been left annoyed. And if that is his tactic, there's only one way he can play it. And I guess you could make the argument that he just didn't wargame it enough. He just didn't go far enough into the future and say, well, if I do play Liverpool, the Liverpool fans aren't going to know that and they're going to feel played themselves, so I'm going to get some pushback, I'm going to get some blowback. Fair enough. But if he did stay now, how many people have already rationalised that Trent Alexander-Arnold is leaving? How many people have already burned that shirt, metaphorically or physically? And how many people are still invested in the same way because of what Trent has done in Trent Alexander-Arnold? There has been, I would argue, quite a muted response on social media compared to last time that Mo Salah re-upped his contract. The same for Virgil van Dijk. Even though it's been brilliant and he's the generational centre-back, I'd argue there's been quite a muted response, at least broadly, because I think a lot of people are still unsure of what the future holds. They know that winning a Premier League title is great, but they know they come with all these caveats. They know there is a big rebuild this summer. They don't know how that rebuild will go. We've done rebuilds in the past. In fact, we've done amazing rebuilds under Jurgen Klopp. In fact, it wasn't even a rebuild really. It was more of just a build, right? But that's kind of my point. Like, with the unsure side of football, you want that to remain, like, as much as you can on the field. Off the field stuff, broadly, you want it handled because you actually don't want to have to focus on it. When people say, oh, don't include politics in football, I don't agree. But as well, what they should really mean is don't include club politics in on the field stuff. When Trent pulls on the shirt, on the weekend, he's a Liverpool player. He's still a Scouser. There is still going to be some emotional connection. You can see that when he goes to the corner. But is that irreparable damage done if Trent comes out and says, frankly, I was always going to stay? It's just that, and here's the completion of the point I actually started making earlier, Liverpool value me to 250 grand's worth of wages, and I see myself as a 350 grand a week, or, Virgil van Dijk-esque player. Liverpool value me and tell me they want me to play right back. I don't really want to play right back. I want to play in a midfield adaptable position. This season, Arne Slot has kind of compromised, could we say, between the old Jurgen Klopp system of that chaos that he is still very good at and the control that seems like to be the real emphasis in his team. As an adaptable, smart, engaged coach, he knew to get the best out of this team, to give ourselves the best chance of winning, he would have to do this, right? And that's worked. Liverpool could still get 90 points. They could pretty much be in the same ballpark as Man City have found themselves in over the last few seasons. That would mean winning all of the remaining games, and I don't think that's realistically going to happen. I think as soon as we do get those final 3 points, whatever going Arsenal, I think we'll probably see Liverpool broadly drop off a cliff. We'll see a couple of things come out in the media. And, it'll just be like an exhaustion / elation / everyone's just relieved that we made it to the overall goal this season. And probably, by the way, exceeded that goal. Trent does not want to have... in many ways, I would almost say like the smart thing to do when we do win the title is leave it a week, and then before that next game say, I am going or I am staying. You either get the elation for the rest of the season, and it doesn't really matter what the results are, or you get the goodbye tour, that kind of like a Kobe Bryant kind of style of goodbye tour, or like, a LeBron James. Like there's plenty of people who will do Steven Gerrard goodbye tour, where it's like, hey, I mean, here's the thing, Steven Gerrard and those guys went on a goodbye tour because they were retiring. Trent is just leaving the country and possibly at some point in his career will come back another time. That is feasible, right? But I also think a lot of people have kind of rationalized that Trent is leaving and sold themselves on that idea that actually unlocks other parts of the team, right? Don't get me wrong, Trent has done some incredible things this season. But a few people, just for the sake of change, want to see change at Liverpool. They will see Andy Robertson replaced this summer. I'm almost certain of that. They will want to see another shift in the right back position. Now, that could be one of three things. First of all, sign a new right back. Brilliant. I would be more than up for that. I don't know if I've identified those. I don't know why I would identify those signings, because I think Slot is going to shift things up so much more this summer that actually whoever we identify probably won't be accurate. Fair enough. And then at the same time, shift Bradley into that and sign a backup for him. I think you can't sign backup for Bradley. You have to sign someone you rotate in and out of the team with him, and it becomes like a you on, me on, me on, you on, like a rotational style idea. Someone who maybe suits Europe more or suits the Premier League more or is just good legs. Any of those things would be fantastic. And thirdly, Trent stays. Now here's the big option, right? Trent stays. First of all, you've kept a world-class player in his position. Broadly, is he the position that we play him in, is he necessarily world-class? Yes, I think he is. Is it maximizing how world-class he can be? Do world-class players not need to be maximized? Yes. Is that part of the reason he probably wants to go around Madrid? Yes. But I think that what we have to see if Trent stays is an uptick, not necessarily in, brilliance or genius or any of those things, but effort. This season, I think, acknowledged or not, I think Trent has either been carrying some sort of underlying issue that can be repaired at the end of the month or at the end of the year or whatever, has been playing through something, which I don't, plenty of players do that. I think that's generally acknowledged in the industry, right? Plenty of players get injections or whatever it is. Or he's been saving himself for Real Madrid, and I don't think he's been putting in that same level of effort in terms of body language and all those kind of things to maximize his position. Now, I might be wrong on all of those counts, but when I'm watching the games, there are times where I think, wow, you really should have been there. Or, wow, you're jogging. And maybe, again, that's tactical instruction from Arne Slot. But still, the body language, broadly, hasn't read well. Now, again, I'm not a body language expert, though. I've watched enough football to know how players feel, broadly. It doesn't matter really that I'm a body language expert, because the fans have read that. It's not just me who's saying this. It's lots of people who are saying this. Again, doesn't mean they're right. But it does mean, and I mean this in the nicest way, that you need to up or shift the energy to win the fans back over. And that is very key. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in terms of whether Trent stays or goes. I think broadly he's still on the way out. But he's broadly still on the way out, but I love the idea that he's led Real Madrid on to kind of, I don't know. Here we go. Oh, he's off. Oh. Either way. Anyway, I'd appreciate you guys. I do appreciate you guys watching the channel. There's a Patreon down there. There's also a Discord. If you want to super thanks, that'd be fantastic. And I appreciate you watching. If you haven't already hit subscribe, hit it, and I'll see you in the next video. Much love.